So, picture this. You're sitting in the director's chair of a multi-million-dollar historical epic, but instead of cameras and a massive crew, you're commanding the whole thing using nothing but text. Well, that's exactly what we're unpacking today. Let's dive right into this explainer, where we're going to explore a brilliantly constructed AI prompt that literally engineers an epic cinematic documentary about the entire evolution of transportation. It's an absolutely fascinating look at how structured text builds visual history.
To get a grip on this massive timeline, we'll look at 5 distinct eras: dawn of the machine, luxury and freedom, rebellion, speed and neon, the electric era, and finally, the cosmos and beyond.
All right, Section 1, Dawn of the Machine. From carriages to the first automobiles.
We actually kick off this journey back in the late 1700s. The source text sets up this perfect scene, just a simple wooden horse carriage on a muddy village road at sunset, with this beautiful rising orchestral music. You can almost feel the dust in the air, right? But then bam, as we hit the early 1800s, that soft countryside is totally gone. We're plunged right into the gritty, smoke-filled cobblestone streets of the Industrial Revolution. It's a dark, heavy atmosphere where steam engines and these massive iron wheels are suddenly dominating the landscape. And it leads to this pure moment of historical wonder, where people stop and stare in amazement as the automobile passes for the very first time. The prompt actually directs the camera to circle dramatically around a primitive vintage motor car. Just imagine it: thin wheels, exposed engine parts, brass headlights rolling through streets that are still shared with horse carts, while newspapers literally fly through the air announcing the future.
Now, what's really clever about the prompt engineering here is the stark visual contrast. We transition from that soft, low-angle wonder of the 1700s, filmed with slow-tracking cameras, straight into these highly optimistic, wide, cinematic drone shots. These shots capture the early 1900s, showing the rise of those classic Ford Model T-style cars. We're seeing modernizing cities, men in suits, elegant dresses, the very first gas stations. It's a total shift in visual optimism.
Which brings us to Section 2, Luxury and Freedom, spanning the 1930s to the 1950s.
The prompt elegantly juxtaposes two totally different routes for this era. On the one hand, you have the pure glamour of 1930s and 40s luxury cars. Picture all those heavy chrome details, soft jazz playing in the background, and wealthy businessmen stepping out onto rain-slick streets under neon signs. But then, contrast that with the golden age of the 1950s. We completely trade that rainy night for bright sunshine, massive tail fins, and vibrantly colorful American classic cars speeding down these endless desert highways.
Because, the 1950s aren't just about the vehicles themselves. The whole aesthetic shifts to this almost mandatory level of optimism. It's all about freedom, endless desert road trips, retro gas stations, classic diners, and jukebox culture. The car basically becomes the ultimate passport for the American dream. I mean, honestly, who wouldn't want to cruise down Route 66 in a cherry red convertible with fins the size of a surfboard?
All right, moving on to Section 3, Rebellion, Speed, and Neon, covering the 1960s to the 2000s.
Over these 4 decades, you can practically hear the soundtrack shifting. We go from jazz to hard rock and synthwave, matching this intensely escalating action. We start off with the roaring, tire-smoking American muscle cars of the 60s and 70s. From there, we accelerate straight into the 1980s with Lamborghini and Ferrari-inspired supercars tearing through neon cyberpunk-style cities. And finally, we arrive in the 90s and 2000s, illuminated by the neon-lit tuner cars of the underground street racing scene.
The technical scaffolding behind this section is pretty intense. To really capture this dangerous, adrenaline-fueled atmosphere, the instructions demand dynamic motion blur, fast chases, and dramatic reflections across wet, glowing cyberpunk cities, all in ultra-realistic 8K HDR. The director isn't just showing us fast cars here. They're demanding aggressive engine close-ups and cinematic drifting shots to make sure you literally feel the danger.
This specific era of tuner car culture is super fascinating because it requires a highly rebellious, energetic urban environment. We're talking crowds gathered in gritty industrial zones at midnight to watch nitrous boosts and drifting. It's a massive departure from the polite, elegant city streets we saw in the 1930s. The car is now this highly customized, aggressively tuned expression of urban youth culture.
Next up, Section 4, the electric era, the 2010s to 2035.
The contrast here is jarring, and it is absolutely intentional. We abruptly trade the eardrum-shattering tire smoke of those 60s muscle cars for the sleek, almost eerily quiet smart cities of the EV revolution.
The prompt dictates a total sensory pivot, a shift to blue, glowing charging stations, silent movement, and this overarching feeling of advanced, eco-friendly intelligence.
So, how does the prompt visualize this massive shift? Well, it acts as a bridge. It starts with the sheer expense and luxury of 2010's carbon fiber hypercars with their slick LED lights. But that luxury leads straight into a futuristic network. We see these sweeping, cinematic aerial shots revealing massive smart highways where AI traffic systems and self-driving cars just move silently, communicating digitally beneath solar panels and green energy tech. The chaotic human element of driving is completely replaced by the harmony of an intelligent system.
And finally, Section 5, the cosmos and beyond, 2050 to the future. We are thrust into a breathtaking vision of the future. The prompt paints this incredible picture of hovering vehicles powered by anti-gravity engines and glowing energy systems, navigating complex sky highways. Imagine seeing thousands of airborne vehicles perfectly organized by AI, flying right through neon clouds and huge floating holographic advertisements. It's this perfect blend of ultra-realistic documentary style with massive, high-budget sci-fi cinema.
The finale instructed by this prompt is basically a masterclass in cinematic escalation. First, the camera flies dramatically between towering skyscrapers following these advanced flying cars. Then, it pulls way back into deep space, revealing this breathtaking sunrise hovering right above Earth. And as the camera pulls away, the entire history we just witnessed flashes briefly below us, from that muddy horse carriage to the vintage auto, the muscle car, the EV, all the way up to the flying car.
This complete mood progression arc is exactly why this prompt is so effective. It perfectly maps human emotion to our mode of transportation. It starts out with historical wonder, backed by sweeping orchestral music. It accelerates through the middle eras of freedom, speed, and rebellion with a soundtrack of jazz, rock, and synthwave, and it finally arrives at this sleek, AI-driven end state, powered by futuristic, cinematic, electronic music. It is a complete, emotionally resonant story told entirely through visual and auditory cues.
Ultimately, this explainer really leaves us reflecting on humanity's endless drive to innovate. It shows us that transportation is never just about getting from point A to point B. It's a reflection of our culture, our tech, and our wildest dreams for the future. So I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder. As we rise from muddy roads all the way into the cosmos, what is going to drive our next great leap?